Okay, welcome back. Solo roll Mangging with Tales of Argosa. Modified, of course. Last time we did a DCC funnel beneath the Well of Brass, which was almost just like a let's read, really. I mean, we didn't do a whole lot, but there were some dice rolls, there were some deaths. So, and there was some loot gained that we're going to take into the level 1 adventures. So, there's some of that. We're rolling in with a couple hundred gold. Yeah, like 260 some gold or something like that. And right, I sold this, so that's done. And we have this nice Ifrit scimitar that Dalnir can use, which is going to be pretty beastly in combat. And I did go ahead and respec Dalnir as a cultist now instead of a barbarian. So he does get... he gets turn undead, or turning as they call it. With my changes, every cultist gets that automatically. And he gets spells, but because he only has one wisdom willpower modifier, he only got one spell, which we picked as Bane Rune. +2 magic weapon against any specific type of creature for 10 minutes. So he can cast that sort of once between short rests. So he can't put it on everybody's weapon. And, I mean, let's be honest, he's probably going to put it on his own weapon, but you never know. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Couple things changed. He did get chainmail now instead of hide armor, so he's got 14 AC. And his template that I rolled did give him a shield. So I actually gave that over to Rethi, who, might end up using a shield. I didn't equip it on her. She's going to roll two-handed for now, just because shields are 1 AC in Axe, so they're not super big. And being able to roll damage with advantage is pretty significant. And the sword is a 1d8 two-handed instead of a 1d6. So there's a lot of incentive for her to be two-handed. That means that none of our AC values are particularly amazing. Nefira does have a 15 thanks to her good dex and being a halfling. But yeah, ideally we go for some alpha strikes rather than prolonged combat. We do have a hefty amount of hit points, though, on our frontliners. Okay. Not a whole lot of magic, though. Definitely lacking in the magic department. So that's going to be something that Dalnir is going to focus on, of trying to get more spells. I don't know. Do I have it written anywhere of what? I don't know why I don't have it written. I guess I didn't really think about it. Of how cultists get more spells. They don't have to find it. They are granted it by their deity. So I think I have to go back to Axe and look at the Crusader. Okay, yes, yeah. So the Crusader, the traditional thing is you get access to your entire repertoire. So you actually have a list here, depending on your class. So say you're a Crusader, first level. If you have access to first level divine spells, you have access to all 10 of these, and you can just pick any of them. That's obviously the traditional way of doing it. I could do it that way. I could have done it that way, and so instead of having a couple spells assigned as part of your template, you just get access to, say, the Crusader list. But I wanted it to be a bit more than that, because there is a lot of divine spells, And I only have one really holy caster. Whereas Axe here, you have the Crusader, you have the Priestess, you have the Shaman. So it's kind of, there's a bunch divided amongst those. So I wanted it to be, I didn't want to give, there's also the Blade Dancer. I didn't want to give like the entire first, that's 30 spells you'd have access to. I didn't want to do that, but I also don't want to just like cut out spells, you know. I don't want to cut out 20 of the spells. So I'm not sure how I want to do it. I might have to look at some other games and just see how they do divine spell lists and stuff. This is obviously the norm, though, is you just have access to all the divine spells in the game. We can't really consult Tales of Argosa for this because they do it very differently. You just have this list of 12 blessings, and every level you get another one, because they don't really do traditional spell casting for the cultist, and nor do their spell list. Anyways, their spell list isn't level based. Like, it all just is levelless. We can't really resort to Tales of Argosa for any of that discussion. Doesn't really matter until I hit level 2. I feel like this should have come up in the past. I don't know. I don't want to just do it where you just roll randomly on the whole chart and that's what you get. I guess you could do roll twice and then pick one or something, but the question is, once you get to like here, this level right here, this is the question mark, level 7. Here you gain another level 1 spell slot, and you gain a level 4 spell slot, or, you know, casting per day. Yeah, but otherwise it's like level 2, you get another level 1 spell casting, so you could get another level 1 spell. Level 3, you get a level 2 spell slot, so you can get a level 2 spell. Level 4, you get another level 2. Level 5, you get a level 3. 6, you get another level 3. I guess 7, you just get another level 4. Yeah, I suppose that's probably the way to do it. Yeah, Maybe it should be roll twice and you get both of them, really. I don't know if that's a super satisfying way to do it. Because, I like the way the wizard works. You know, I get that. I think that's entertaining. I think that works within the fiction, within the game, everything. You have to find spell books, or you have to find spell scrolls, or you have to find another wizard to teach you or something. But the divine caster is meant to just have, like, this is what your deity has to offer you to aid you. You know, this is the list of things it's capable of passing on to you. And you choose what you want to apply in any situation. Shadow Dark doesn't work that way, right? Shadow Dark does not give you the full access to the spell list. I'm almost certain. I'm gonna bring up the Shadow Dark rulebook again. Each time you gain a level, you choose new pre-spells to learn. I guess we could do it that way. That's probably not the worst way to do it. Granted, the wizard is the same exact way. For simplicity's sake, you get to choose. And I know plenty of people do it the way that I do it, where you just roll randomly and that's it. But I suppose if we want to differentiate the priest a little bit, in our game. Well, we already are just by the fact you get spells automatically. But I guess you could do... You get to pick. Alright. I think for now, let's say you get to pick. You get to pick one new spell. Of any level that you're capable of casting. We'll do it that way. Fine. That's fine. Okay. So then let us begin. Oh, the one other thing that we're going to do, I think we did this with Shadow Dark at some point. We are going to give it a try with Tales of Argosa now, and that is the XP. We're going to try gold as XP for this one. So every gold piece value of treasure that we recover, we get 1 XP. And that's obviously, you know, divided amongst your characters. Technically, you know, it's like whatever your character brings back, but usually you pool it together and divide it. That's generally the fair way to do it. So we're using then the fighter XP table, the classic table, which is actually 2,000. I don't know why I put 1,000. So that's 2,000 XP to get to level 2. 4,000 to get to 3, 8,000 to get to 4, 16,000 to get to 5. Yeah, it's the easiest way to go. Thieves technically would level up quite a bit faster, but usually if you're going to adapt it and simplify things, you just use the fighter table. And I believe that's the same table from OSC. Yes, it is. Okay. Right, so we're going to give that a try and just see how it goes, rather than me... It's a very fair way of doing it solo, rather than me arbitrarily assigning XP. I don't mind that when I'm DMing and stuff, because they need all the help they can get. And so being a bit more generous with XP is fine, but solo, this is a nice way to make it just very fair. Alright, so let's begin in the Shadow of Tower Silveraxe. This is a module written for OSE. Put out by Necrotic Gnome. No, it's not put out by Necrotic Gnome. No, I'm sorry. Necrotic Gnome did OSE. No, this is Jacob Fleming, written for OSE. So it's got that very nice, modern, clean style. Very attractive little module. And the Shadow of Tower Silveraxe is an adventure module which can be used in any fantasy campaign setting that has a mountainous wilderness region, which is every fantasy campaign setting. Not quite, but mostly. The Gem Throne Mountain Wilderness is designed as a sandbox setting in the old school sense, meaning it can be approached however the players or referees see fit. With that in mind, players should be aware that combat and exploration can be deadly in this module. A minimum party of 5 players is recommended, as well as some hired retainers. Yes, we have 3, but Tales of Argosa characters, especially at early levels, are quite a bit more powerful. I wouldn't hesitate really to say that a good Tales of Argosa character at level 1 is worth 2 OSC characters, you know, at level 1, at least. You have a lot more hit points. You'll never have a level 1 character in old school D&D with 20 hit points. And you also have abilities. You know, I get advantage on damage when using a two-handed weapon. I have a crit range of 19 to 20. I have rerolls for certain things. And I can do minor and major exploits, including being able to just, like, cleave multiple targets and kill them in one shot. Yeah, I mean, and all sorts of stuff that you can do with that exploits. I can shoot a bow and shoot through multiple targets, or shoot out a chandelier and drop it on, you know, all sorts of stuff that make Tales of Argosa characters pretty darn powerful. So I'm not overly worried. Gem Throne is a classic fantasy setting in a similar vein to the settings of yore, a la Greyhawk. If it's in the rulebooks, you're bound to find it here, or not, that's up to you. The setting is intentionally minimal to allow for input from the referee and the players. Moreover, this should allow for the Gem Throne region to be grafted onto your own world should you choose. Okay, and then we get a bit of lore. So there were some builders, unknown entities, ancient, long time ago. They had 3 eyes, and there are 3 moons in the night sky. Coincidence? No. Perhaps the most bizarre and well-known remnant of the builders is the Tower, known as the Tower of the Builders to the locals. It stands in the middle of a forest valley called the Labyrinth, so called because of its impenetrable nature. Nearly impossible to navigate, though, through, and full of all manner of dangerous beasts, almost no one dares enter it. The tower has stood as a monolith, unchanging and quiet. Enter Silveraxe. A chaotic group of outlaws and mercenaries have braved the labyrinth and taken control of the ancient ruined Tower of the Builders from its elven stewards. Their leader, Duard Silveraxe, seeks the power which the elves have vowed to keep hidden, immortality and strange magical abilities granted to one greedy enough to perform the ritual. Upon taking the tower, he tortured the elves to make them reveal their protected secret. Most of them resisted and met their end, but a few reluctantly gave in and revealed the secret they had kept for millennia. The ritual was performed and Duard was transformed into a shade, a creature of shadow and hatred. However, there was a cost. Unknowingly, Duard's band of brigands that supported his assault were sacrificed. Their life force was drained, leaving behind a legion of undead as his servants. Since then, the denizens of the surrounding forest, including the more monstrous trolls and giant spiders, have fled from the vicinity of the tower and into the nearby mountains, causing problems for settlers. Unbeknownst to the settlers and inhabitants of Gem Throne, the shadow of Silveraxe will soon be cast over them. His greed and malice has grown exponentially with the ritual completed, and his appetite for conquering will not easily be satiated. Okay. So we have multiple factions. The Silveraxe. So it's a band of brigands. The leader always goes by Silveraxe, no matter what his name is. No civilized person would dare cross them, nor be caught speaking ill of them. They prefer their secrecy, or at least outsiders keeping their nose out of their business. They wouldn't think twice about murder. Highway robbery, pillaging. Duard has taken to using his status to gain more than merely wealth. He has begun combing the lands in search of legendary artifacts. There's the elven stewards of the tower. They have been custodians for centuries. Their charge has been to keep the ancient magic hidden from those who might use it in the name of chaos. Well, they didn't do too well with that, did they? Most of the population of local elves lived several miles to the south of the tower in the village of Rio Tasi. The village was built around an ancient giant oak tree known to the elves and fae as Ilex, the eldest tree in the labyrinth. Ilex is central to the lawful creatures of the forest and serves as a conduit for communing with their forest spirits. Okay, there's the dwarves of Karn Buldar. Karn Buldar is a peaceful dwarven town built within the last century. The town stands above ground on the southern side of craggy, snow-capped Mount Sergili. Dwarven settlers first broke ground there to establish an encampment for gem mining. Okay, blah blah blah. Okay, so the mines have kind of gone dry, but the town's still going strong. Nowadays, most residents make a living as craftspeople, artisans, farmers, hunters, and other typical trades and occupations. The town is governed by a council which is made up of the leaders of the 3 clans, Gorf Banderfist, Helja Emerald Eater, and Harl Flortagern. Walls were constructed, guards assigned to posts, though this was at first done to thwart aggression from bandit raids more common this far out in wilderness location. They never thought they would have to repel attacks from monsters. Without warning, trolls, giant spiders, and other creatures that were known to keep to the labyrinth have reportedly been attacking farms and livestock. The council has sought aid from any willing adventurers to help deal with the attacks. And lastly, there's the Golthek, a giant kin race of beings that share a common ancestor with the Cyclops. They're deeply spiritual, and they follow the One, Jet Li. They keep to themselves and do not get along kindly with other humanoids, simply referred to them by them as the Others. Gelka, the tribe priestess, speaks for their god and proclaims its bidding to the rest of the Golthek. In reality, Gelka is spiteful to all other living creatures and wishes war upon the others for their past transgressions on her people. The one is nothing more than a lie created by Gelka to exact her personal vendetta. Far removed from the sight of the dwarves they despise so much, the Golthak have established a small settlement on the far side of the labyrinth they call Golathak. Okay, they build dome living spaces out of boulders and rocks. The village of Golathak is one such community. Okay. There could be several reasons to seek adventure in the Gem-Throne Wilderness. It is a region that is the subject of speculation on cold nights in the glow of a tavern hearth. Some may talk of the magnificent treasures that have laid untouched for centuries in dark dungeons, just waiting to be pilfered, which is almost without fail followed by another who interjects with the dangers of such notions were such legends even to be believed. There are, however, those that do believe such tales, grizzled adventurers that know there is always some truth to even the most unbelievable stories. One just has to know what rumors to listen for. So this is what we might know. Assign these to players or roll for them as you see fit. Some of the rumors may have false details. Players should be none the wiser. Alright, let's roll. There's 10 of them. 9, 2, and 1 is what we got. Hill giants roam the mountains of Gem-Throne. Allegedly, a few have attacked settled lands near Karn Buldar. Okay, so it's not hill giants. They're the Golthak. Well, that's pretty close. So we'll want to be wary of that. What did I roll? 2 and 1. The elves who live in the forest are reclusive and hunt dwarves for sport. Oh, Dalnir doesn't like that. Never trust an elf. And there are gems, orange in color, that are found around the region, the size of goblin fruit. What the fuck is a goblin fruit? Okay, well, it's not much to go off of, but we gotta be wary of hill giants and elves. Supposedly. Alright, so then we get some rules for traveling, for the hex crawl and stuff like that. It's not actually a hex crawl, I think. It's a... Well, it's not really a point crawl either. I guess it's more of a point crawl. So it adds some rules for hunting. Use these rules in addition to hunting under wilderness adventures and old school essentials. Really? I don't know if I've ever read this. Hunting animals takes up a complete day with no traveling or resting possible. When hunting, there's a 1 in 6 chance of encountering animals which may be suitable for eating if they can be caught. Wow, that is really slim. An entire day for a 1 in 6 chance. That is quite a bit different than Axe's rules. Hunting for food is a dedicated activity, so it is most of the day still. But for each day dedicated to it, each adventurer can attempt a hunting proficiency throw of 14 plus. And that gets you about 6 rations. You do risk encountering wandering monsters, however. And if you have the survival proficiency, you get a +4 bonus on the roll. Also, if you get a hunting dog, the hunting dog gets its own roll of 19 plus, +1 for each other dog that it's with, up to +5. So 6 hunting dogs will get 6 rolls at 14 plus. So hunting dogs are really handy. And then it depends on your territory. So if you have, if you're in civilized territory, it's a -4 penalty, so it's really hard to find game. And if you're in the Outlands, +2 bonus. Unsettled, you're +4. So that's hunting. That's not foraging. Foraging, you can actually do as an ancillary activity while traveling. And that's an 18 plus roll, and that gives you about 3 rations. If you have survival proficiency, you automatically get 1 ration, and +4 bonus on the roll to gather another 3. If you're in barrens or desert, it's a -4 to the roll. If you don't want to steal from farmers, it's a -4 in civilized territory, -2 in borderlands. So hunting is certainly more likely to get you food, but it also is the whole day. So, that's more the rules that I would use. I think usually when I do it, you just do a wilderness lore roll, but the problem with that is that it's generally a little too easy. So I would say probably I would abide by, I should abide by these rules. I think this is fair. And I think if you have the wilderness lore skill, you get the +4 bonus. But otherwise, yeah, it's 14 plus. It's the whole day. You get 6 rations, +4 bonus if you have wilderness lore. Granted, the survival proficiency is way less common than just having wilderness lore as a skill. So it's not quite 1-to-1. So maybe I just do +2 if you have wilderness lore, something like that as a compromise. Yeah, if you roll a scout template, 13 to 14 as an explorer, you get survival. Otherwise, yeah, I imagine it's not super common. Outlaw thieves get survival. Unless it's from a general list. Yo, survival is a general. Okay, so anyone. Oh no, but the template already decides it for you. But if you have an intellect bonus, you get 1 or more additional proficiencies from the general list. You get another proficiency at level 5, 9, and 13. And you get 1 from your class list each time you complete a full 2-point saving throw progression. Yeah. So, needless to say, survival is fairly unlikely for a lot of characters. I mean, if you look at how many there are in the general proficiencies, and that's not even counting the class proficiencies, but I guess explorer or survival could be. Actually, I don't know if it's in any class specific ones. I don't think it is. So yeah, you'd have to very much go out of your way to either get it luckily or just pick it. And it's not like super amazing or anything. There's a lot of proficiencies. So it's a very specific thing. Yeah, and lets you forage food automatically. And you get the +4 bonus when hunting or foraging. That's it. That's the whole proficiency, so yeah, maybe maybe wilderness lore is like a +1 in that case. Unless you also have it, maybe if you have a background that also applies, then maybe I'd give another +1. So Nefira is actually really good as a hunter. She's got 16 perception. She has wilderness lore. She's a fur trapper. Yeah, I'd certainly give her a +2 on that throw. And yeah, so okay. I guess I could also include your perception modifier. I think that's fair too. So she would actually get the full +4 by my own rules that I just made up. But I think that's more fair than just succeeding on a wilderness lore check. So that's how we're going to go. The rules here are just talking about how many rations you get based on the bounty, how bountiful game is within the area. So if there's scant animals in the area, you get 1d4, fair 2d6, bountiful 4d6. 46 is an insane amount, because that averages out to 14 rations. So again, we're sticking with axe rules. Game that we might find. Crab spiders, boars, mules, wolves, black bears, antelopes. Okay. Then this is our random encounter table for wilderness encounters. Troll, direwolves, brigands, crab spiders, hobgoblins, dwarves, +2 reaction bonus if there's a dwarf in the party. Wolves, black bears, antelopes, elves, -2 penalty if there's no elf in the party. 1d6 berserkers or some goltheks. Alright, we will, I'm sure, be consulting that table. Okay. If needed... If needed, roll on the weather table at the start of the day, then adjudicate the results. No roll is needed if a weather change is in motion. Okay. Pretty simple. We could use axe weather rules. It's never something I roll up, but we could use the automatic generator to just generate weather for the next month in game or whatever. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's like, if I was playing, I'd want the DM to like keep track of the weather and everything and inform us, and we have to work around it. But when I'm DMing, it's just like, it's a one more thing to kind of think about and be like, oh, okay, weather. And it's like, and it's really easy to just like skip it and ignore it because it's just one more thing. So that's my own kind of laziness at work here. As for this weather table, pretty simple. Okay, so if you roll a weather change, begins a timer of 1d4 -1 days, after which the weather change will result in either mild precipitation or a storm. Okay. If there's precipitation, travel speed is slowed by 25%. You have a 1 in 6 chance of, or an increased 1 in 6 chance of losing direction. And then if there's a storm, travel speed slowed by 50%, and your chance of getting lost is increased by 2 in 6. So for, like, traveling, for getting lost, I usually use Tales of Argosa rules, which is just a wilderness lore check. You either succeed or you fail. So I think probably for precipitation, that would be a -2 for getting lost. And then if you're in a storm, probably disadvantage. I think you're pretty likely to get lost in a storm if you're traveling around. Ancient statues. There are 3 notable standalone statues in the Gemthrone region. The statues themselves serve as landmarks, but their origin and purpose is shrouded in mystery. However, on each statue near the base, there appear a set of runic letter forms, 26 unique symbols in total. Together, the symbols form a cipher and can be used to read messages left by the builders throughout the region. Okay. We'll see if we ever come across those, I suppose. Right. So we kind of get thrown into it then. There isn't really like a section of a plot hook or anything. And what exactly we're doing here. This is the map of the region. which is a very unique map. You don't often see, like, D&D maps that look like this. It is broken into hexes, so I guess it is a hex crawl. But it shows the topography of the whole region, which is, again, it's just pretty uncommon. And I think if you're not acquainted with a lot of topological maps, like I am not, I think it can be a little tricky to read. So, Karn Buldar is the main sort of settlement in this region, I think. That's a dwarven settlement. There's a lake here. The Tower of the Builders is in here. Golathax over here. Rio Tasi, the elven settlement, is in here. This whole area, the Labyrinth of Shadows, is all one big forest. Yeah, you know, and so it just immediately goes into talking about Karn Buldar. So we've heard some rumors, but I guess it's very much in the old school vein of just like, you're here because you're in search of treasure, and you want treasure, so here's your treasure. That seems to be the case. So since they start by mentioning Karn Buldar, I imagine that's where we come in. None of these trails or something lead off the map, so I don't know exactly where we came in from. I think I could do a little better job of introducing the module, because that's a little vague. But at the same time, it's one of those things that the DM cares about and the players probably don't. If you just say that, okay, you have arrived at the dwarven settlement of Karn Buldar on the southern slopes of Mount Sergili. Like, that's it. You know, like, you don't really need to worry about how they got here or anything. Usually. Some players might get, I don't know, anal about it, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, so yes, we have come in search of treasure. Is pretty much it. We heard there's treasure in the region. There's a population of over 400 dwarves here. It's a busy place where on most days the streets are bustling with its citizens going about their various business. Over the clamor coming from the blacksmith and the crafter's quarter and the hagglers in the marketplace, the rushing waters of the Amethyst River flows under stone bridges through the canal bisecting the town. Above the gates, stout guards keep watch for approaching trouble. Alright, so as we approach, outside of the walls, outside of the western gate here, is the Traveler's Inn. Welcoming to all travelers, even in the early hours of the night. Owned and run by Vander Banderfist, a heavy-set dwarf with a kind sensibility. Across from that is the Stables, owned and run by Creel Coalbraid. Only mules and carts are available to purchase. We may end up purchasing that. We probably should. I don't know why I would wait and hesitate. If we're going to go out, we probably should have a mule and a cart. And also a leather worker is outside of town. Not part of the crafter's quarter because the smell from there is absolutely revolting. Jacend, the proprietor, also holds the record for most grievances aired toward her, the smell. Okay. So let's assume we arrive somewhat in the evening. So we're gonna go to the inn straight away to get a room. And let's see, what is an inn stay gonna cost us? This is not a slum, it's a nicer place. It's a dwarven establishment. It's a modest place, but 5 silver each. So we'll deduct a gold and a half out of this. Well, that's just for lodging. That's not for food. which is anywhere from 1 copper to 10 gold, which is such a useless bit of information, right? I mean, why didn't he just put lodging in slum to superb, 1 silver to 2 gold? You know, and it's like, okay, I guess it's somewhere in there. Let's just assume another gold, to be fair, so we don't have to consume rations for tonight. All right, and while we're here, there's other there's other patrons at the inn, which also functions, I'm pretty sure, as a tavern. And there's a rumor table here that we might get a quest here. So I'm gonna roll a d4 and see what we get. 3. Okay, so a troll has attacked the ranch near the lake to the south. See page 11. The guards in town will pay a bounty on troll heads. Okay, so while we're just chilling there, we've arrived, we've got our rooms, and, you know, obviously, this is a dwarven settlement. I'm sure adventurers come through here once in a while, but we are not all dwarves. We have a halfling and a human, and we have weaponry, so most would surmise that we are adventurers. So we'll say that a guard comes up to us while we're eating our meal. And, you know, amicable enough fellow. And welcomes us to the town of Karn Buldar, and then goes kind of right into it and says that they've had some trouble with a troll attacking the ranch down south by the lake. And it's pretty far. That is not close. That's the Amethyst Lake Ranch there. 1 hex is 6 miles. So, yeah, I mean, if we go by the road, it has the mile counts for the trails here. So, if we go east out of town and go south, you're talking about like 24 miles. If you go west, it's a bit faster, but you'd have to go off-road and across this river, and, well, like, it's not great. So let's say 24 miles. That means on foot, you're talking about, like, what, a day? At least. Axe, unfortunately, bases it around the exploration speed and your encumbrance and everything. So at 120 feet, it's 24 miles. The thing is, you'll never actually achieve that on foot in Axe without magic or something, because somebody in your party is going to be weighed down slightly. So you're probably looking more at 18 miles per day or 12 miles per day. If we got horses, that would be a different story, but the place here doesn't sell horses, it only sells mules. And I'm pretty sure that mules are not moving too fast. Well, actually, they have a speed of 150. Perhaps I spoke too soon. Yeah, it is fairly good. So we could buy a bunch of mules and ride mules. They have a normal load of 25 stone, though. People weigh 15, so that's 10 stones worth of items. Which is essentially 10 slots worth of items. I think we're pretty much all over that. But we could get a cart as well and dump stuff off. Not quite sure of the the math on pulling a cart. Not really sure. Doesn't seem to really mention it, unless there's no. I don't really know, but it does say mules, if unencumbered, have they can move 30 miles per day. So if we buy 3 mules and a cart, no, but it's okay. No, never mind. It says your cart small 2 mules drops down to 12 if unencumbered, within the normal load of 100. So. Yeah, that's not going to cut it. That's as fast as walking. Well, in that case, I guess we probably should still buy a mule and a cart, and it's going to take a couple days trip to get down there. And then a couple days to come back. Which is surprising then that the guards of Karn Buldar even care. Unless this place provides something for the town. It's a cattle ranch. Okay, so yeah, food supply and stuff, I suppose. And they set it up next to the lake. Yeah, I don't know why they picked there instead of like over here or something, but who am I to say exactly? But alright, it's a 2-day trip. There's no way around it. Well, we thank the guard and we say that that's going to be our destination. I don't know if they mentioned how much the bounty is. Well, here it says that the guy that runs the ranch is going to pay 2,000 gold. I don't see a mention of what the guards will pay. So I don't know if that's an oversight on the module itself or if you're just meant to spitball. Okay, let's assume that he changes what he says, and the guy that runs the cattle ranch, Storg Taggart, is paying out if you deal with the troll. But I don't know, it says they'll pay a bounty on troll heads, suggesting there's more than one, and you can bring back the heads for a bounty. Don't really want to double dip rewards or anything, but I don't see any mention here other than that of them paying a bounty. And technically there's only one. Okay, well, technically there's only one troll bothering the ranch. But as we saw in the wilderness encounter, there are trolls about. So I guess they will pay a bounty for troll heads. Let's say... let's just say 50 gold, I guess. I can't imagine, like, the guard has that much cash to just, like, throw around for a settlement of, like, 400 dwarves. So, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe that's a little light. Nah, I'm gonna go with 50. Yeah, so 50 gold is what he mentions. Which hardly seems worth the trouble then. Because trolls are, trolls are no joke. I mean, we can see the stats for a troll here. 15 AC, 30 hit points, 2 attacks at 1d6, and a bite attack at 1d10, with a +6 to their attack roll. That's not simple for level 1 characters. So he might mention that Taggart specifically is offering a larger bounty to help deal with his troll problem specifically. But the guards in general just have like a open hunting season on trolls. Because it mentions here the captain of the guard, Udlad Molvigi, is a no-nonsense female dwarf with extensive facial scarring from an encounter with a troll. So maybe she's kind of spurning this on, that she just wants to commit genocide on the troll population. So that's good. All right, we have a hook. That's all fine. Oh no, Diamond Ginny's is the tavern. Okay, so maybe we went there for dinner, and that's where we had the encounter. So we stepped into the town before heading to bed for the night. So the night passes. I guess we can roll for our weather for today. 2. So it's normal for the season. It's spring. It's a nice spring day. So if we want to do any purchases, there's the stables, which have mules and carts. There's a general store with all standard adventuring gear. There's the crafter's quarters, which has a blacksmith, weaver, miller, baker, and potter. And Vlord Leadstaff, the eccentric gem merchant and money changer. There's an outdoor market for produce and other local delicacies from dawn to dusk, except on Temple Day. There's a pavilion where plays are put on. Plays themselves are bizarre and a little hard to follow, but no one wants to admit that they didn't get the deeper meaning and symbolism being conveyed. No one does. Director Rhymecliff is very proud of his theater company. There's a temple/library run by a level 5 cleric. He holds every temple day a quick noontime sermon on the gods and the virtue of being lawful. And then the airing of grievances. Got a lot of problems with you people. Western and eastern gates. Since the recent creature attacks, gates are manned day and night and remain closed. They are open whenever someone comes or goes for business outside of the walls, but not before a strict line of questioning to confirm identification. Okay, so we did have to go through that, I guess, before we had dinner. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we would not be let in or anything, especially if we have a dwarf amongst us, and he's a cleric of Graxus. So, I mean, you know, he's a trustworthy guy, and we're adventurers, and we've already sort of... Well, no, we wouldn't have heard about the troll yet, but, you know, I'm sure we're not the first adventurers. There's a mage for adventurers that need their magic items identified or perhaps to learn a new spell. Miria Kadreth, 4th level magic user. She's also the only non-dwarf that lives in Karn Buldar full-time. She's studying the crystals found in the ruins in this region and will pay 1,000 gold pieces for each that is recovered. There's a clan hall, that's like the town hall, and the leather worker, yada yada. Okay, I don't know if we need to buy anything or if we'd want to buy anything. I could buy bigger armor for Rethi. Her slots are kind of getting a little packed, but we could upgrade to like laminated armor or something. Or lamellar armor or banded plate armor for 5 AC instead of 4. Slight upgrade, I suppose. I guess we'd have to figure out the size of this market. Which is... I think it's a class 6, I gotta be honest. It's 1,200 inhabitants or less. We know the population, so it's a class 6 market, which means the general store doesn't really have that much in it. Now, the blacksmith could make something theoretically, but it takes a while. So really, yeah, if we want anything that costs more than 10 gold, there's a very slim chance that the general store is going to have it. Which covers, I mean, a lot of stuff, right? Most of the things you'd want to buy are going to be 10 gold or less, as far as adventuring equipment. But a grappling hook could be pretty slim. Sometimes you make special exceptions for something like that, because it is like an adventuring thing, and if you're at a Borderlands with a lot of dungeons and stuff, adventurers coming and going, they might stock something like that more likely. But certainly most things that we could buy, but it gets trickier when you get to armor or weapons. And, you know, Bandit plays 50 gold. So we can roll a 1 in 10 just to see if they have it. They don't. And I guess we could roll the same thing for a Lameller. They don't. So then it would be either waiting a month and trying again, or talking to the blacksmith and trying to negotiate its construction. Which, if we go to proficiencies, and we go to art/craft, the lowest level of proficiency, you can construct 10 gold pieces worth of goods per month of dedicated activity. If you pick the same proficiency twice, you consider a journeyman, you can construct 20 gold pieces of goods per month. And supervise up to 3 apprentices, increasing their productivity by 50%. I don't think there would be a master or a grandmaster in a small little place by this, but I usually allow a journeyman with maybe a few apprentices. Okay, so the apprentices, let's say this guy has 2 apprentices, because dwarves like to do blacksmithing. So each of the apprentices can do 10 plus 50%, so they can each do 15 per month. So that means that's 30 between the apprentices and 20 with him. So if we dedicate the entire month, this blacksmith, the entire month, to making my banded plate armor for me, then they could finish it in 1 month. Now, I don't know what you'd have to sort of pay him extra in order to get him to actually do that, because he would not be working on anything else for anybody else. You know, a journeyman artisan is going to earn 12 to 40 gold pieces per month on average. So you'd sort of have to just make that up to him. So I'd probably say 75 gold. Pay 75 gold, he'll dedicate the whole team to that, because the apprentices have to get paid as well, I suppose. And he doesn't get paid, I suppose, exclusively based on new things that he's making and new jobs he's taking. He has a stockpile, I guess. But yeah, largely you're paying for his monthly living costs there. In exchange, he could be working on all sorts of other stuff. So we'll say 75 gold. Let's say 50% extra. Do I want to spend 75 gold to get bandit plate? Probably not in this case. But I know that, like, Lego, more than once, has definitely done stuff like that, where he's gone to a blacksmith and had them forge him, like, plate armor. And it's Yeah, I mean, I tell him it takes a month or so. And that he's happy to do that. Because a month can go by, you know, relatively quickly in a game like this. If you're just going back to town and you're resting for a week or something like that, or you travel 2 weeks somewhere and 2 weeks back, months can go by. In our current campaign, he did that, and I think he just got his armor and he was happy, and, you know, he didn't find a set of plate armor in between the time or anything like that, so it worked out for him. Usually, though, if you're going to have them craft something, it's probably going to be masterwork. So we can get, we could get masterwork armor that adds like +1 AC or something if we pay an extra 650 gold on top of it. But usually you're not going to get masterwork stuff done in a class 6 village unless there's like some really reclusive grandmaster. It has to be a grandmaster. So I think we're just going to stick with the mules and the cart. So let's just go with 1 mule, a draft mule for 20 gold, which technically I'd have to roll to see if they have on offer, but we're making, again, special dispensation in this case that they don't have any horses, don't even ask, but they definitely have a few mules. Not everything has to be a random roll. So, right, 20 gold for the mule, and then the cart, small cart, that's going to be 25. So we're looking at 45 gold pieces. I can definitely do math. I don't need any calculator to ever help me do math numbers. It's 63. Okay. All right, we have a mule and a cart. So we're going to add mule and cart. Technically a companion. Except we don't want to do it as a companion, do we? Because they don't have inventories. Yeah, they don't have inventories, so we can't ever do it as a companion. Whoops. I also don't think we can do it as an NPC. They also don't have... Well, they do have loot, non-weapon equipment items, but it's NPC is really meant to be like an enemy, a monster. So, you know, we're just doing character. And I could also just do... Honestly, fuck it, why even bother? Just use the notepad. Alright, so... how many slots does it have then? We've done this math before, I'm sure. It's 50 stones. Oh, God. I think I generally say 1 slot is 1 stone. That's, I think, usually how I do it. Makes mules and cart, like a cart is, I guess a cart is really good. A cart should be able to hold like 50 shit. So, yeah, fuck it, it can hold 50 slots. A mule can't hold 50 slots. A mule can hold 25 without being encumbered. That's still pretty good. Assuming you're not riding the mule. Yeah, okay. 50 slots. Yeah, again, an axe, that's 50 stone. But it generally works out. Most items, or most weapons, are either 1 stone for the bigger stuff, or 1/6 of a stone. I simplify that. Everything is 1 slot, 1 stone. So it keeps it simple. Armor, though, it's the number of stone equal to the armor value. So a chainmail is actually 4 stone. So if you want to grab a pile of like scale mail or something and collect it and throw it on your and take it out of there, that adds up pretty quick. And then adventuring equipment, a lot of it is going to be 1/6 of a stone. So if it comes to it, I usually allow those to be bundled, like 6 to a slot to make it fair, 5 or 6 to a slot. Some things are 1 stone, so that's 1 slot. And then there are certain items that do take up more slots. Some weird stuff. A pavilion. Why is that listed there? 72 stone. Archery target is 2. An ironbound chest is 5 stone and holds 20 stone. Firewood bundle is 2.5 stone. You know, stuff like that. But yeah, 50 slots. It's fine. So what do we want to give the cart? Put on the cart. Stuff that doesn't matter too much. The bear, I don't know. I want to put the bear trap on there, or do I want to have that on my person? We're not taking the cart into the dungeon, so it's stuff that we can leave outside of the dungeon and not care too much about. I think... let's say the drums, the knife, the parchment, the ink and quill, all this stuff can go on there. That's fine. I don't know if Nefira is going to leave anything. I think for now, probably not much. Just that kind of shit. So we're going to delete this. So he's got a lot of slots for actually carrying stuff out of the dungeon. Nefira doesn't have any slots. Yeah. And Rethi has an okay number. He's got 5. It's fine. All right. So it's a new day. We got our mule. We got our cart. We got to name the mule, of course. It's going to be named... Beulah. There we go. Done. Let us progress then and get to the Hexploring. So we head south. Well, we're heading east out of town. And again, we can travel 12 miles per day. So if we go and look at the map, we're traveling 3.3 miles along here. So we've got 8.7 miles left, which is about a little over halfway down this trail. Yeah, I mean, let's see here. 3.3 plus 15.8 plus 6, 25. So it's actually going to take a little longer than 2 days. We'll have to camp like right here outside, unless we want to push it to get to the ranch at night. Which we might, because there are trolls afoot, apparently. So let's say we put a little bit of hustle into it. Which is a forced march, of course. Forced march applies a movement modifier of 50% more. Assumes 12 hours of marching. Characters who are forced marching are considered to use all their... Well, so according to Axe, there isn't really like a there's not really a drawback to it except that you use up your ancillary activities. And I don't really want to go into the whole ancillary activity discussion because we don't really abide by that. I assume Tales of Argosa has its own rules for forced marches. No, actually it doesn't. Surprising. Okay. I can't imagine Shadow Dark has rules for forced marching, and its exploring rules are non-existent, to say the least. Yeah. So nothing there. OSE might have. Maybe. Forced march. Distance travel is increased by 50%. After a forced march, characters must rest for a full day. Well, that is somewhat harsh, I gotta say. Yeah. I guess we won't force march. We're gonna rest outside of the thing. Even though it's like just an extra mile, I feel like I should be able to come up with some sort of slight penalty. But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, do I really want to, keep track of that? Like, say you have -1 on all your dice rolls for the next day. It's like, yeah, I really want to keep track of that and harper people for the whole next day of like, oh, did you subtract 1? Don't forget to subtract 1, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like something like that. Interesting. Kind of want to check the Axe Discord on this, but I guess I don't really care. I like having these discussions though, because it's like, what if this comes up? This is not like an outrageous scenario that might come up of players being like, well, can we just travel an extra mile and get there? Like, what is the penalty for that? It annoys me that Tales of Argosa doesn't have any rules for forced march. Not that I'd necessarily utilize it, but it's annoying. We could make it a roll. We could make it a group check, actually, which would include the mule. A group constitution check, which puts us at pretty good odds. I guess that maybe is a more Tales of Argosa way of doing it. To see if we can just, if we've got it in us to soldier on. I think in this case, though, it would actually be it's 1 extra mile the second day. I don't think that's really that ridiculous. And we are kind of motivated to travel that extra mile rather than camping out in the wilderness in Troll Country. So I'd probably do a group con check at +2 is how I'm going to do it. Whereas if you were trying to force march like an extra 12 miles or something, it's like, okay, well, that's going to be pretty tricky. to have the whole group actually commit to that. That's how we're doing it. I'm ruling it on the fly. Deal with it. But we have the first day first. So this has the wilderness encounter. It does not have a frequency, though. And so that gets us to the frequency discussion. Let's look at Axe first. That might be in the DM book. Yeah, that might be in the DM book. As far as frequency is concerned. Let's look at OSC. Once per day. The referee may choose to make more checks, up to 3 or 4 per day. Depends on the type of terrain being explored. So we're in the mountains, I'm pretty sure, right? So 3 and 6. I'm pretty sure we're in the mountains. We're right near Mount Sergili. I guess we're heading into these just hilly territory. I don't know how to read these kind of maps, man. I'm not in a fucking... I'm not Magellan, alright? I'm just a big nerd. This is the... I think these numbers here are the elevation in feet. So this is still like 6,500 feet. So I'm pretty sure we're in the mountains. So that would be a 3 and 6 once per day. We have a 50% chance of encountering something. I think most games go by hex. In which case, you know, we'd roll... Well, we're traveling 12 miles, so we'd probably say 2 rolls. Tales of Argosa does travel events, so that's not really super useful. Shadow Dark checks based on hours, depending on how unsafe the territory is. So if we say that this territory is risky, then we'd be checking every 2 hours, which usually you're marching for 8 hours. So that'd be 4 checks. But that's a 1 in 6 that we would say. So it sort of works out compared to OSE. It's just not based... It's not based on terrain, it's based on, like, the danger level of the area. Which is probably a better way to do it, maybe. But I think it's just generally... assumed that jungles, mountains, and swamps are just inherently more dangerous. Alright, I'm gonna look up the Axe book. The DM book. God help me. Okay. This book is terrifying. Terrifyingly large. You just pull up shit like this. Alright, so frequency of encounters. So it depends on if we're in a civilized territory, Borderlands territory, Outlands, or Unsettled. We're not in Unsettled. I'd probably say this is the Borderlands. I think that's usually the most common. So traveling, you get once per 6 mile hex. And it's not it's not 1 in 6 or anything like that. It's this D20 roll. Again, depending on the situation. So this is Borderlands. plus road, so it's his second column. Basically, we have like a 45% chance or a 50% chance, 50% chance of no encounter, 50% chance of, oh no, that's more like a 35% chance of a civilized encounter, and then a slim chance of a monster, dangerous terrain, or valuable terrain. So I would use this, except that this module has its own random encounter table that does include civilized encounters and some things like that. So I guess we're probably just going to go with OSE. This is an OSE module, so that's the closest to the intention. If I'm playing most like kind of sandbox hex crawl things, especially if I designed it, I use axe rules. But yeah, I think this is fair enough. So I don't think once per day is a good way to do it, because it's like if I'm traveling 2 hours and then that's it for the day, do I roll? Do I not roll? I guess you probably do roll. I don't know. But all right, we're gonna roll d6. If we get a 1, 2, or 3, it's an encounter. All right, it is. So now we're gonna roll a d12. It's a 7. 1d4 wolves. This is a good solid encounter. So we have 2 wolves. We're gonna roll a reaction roll for them, which is gonna be well, yeah, again, axe is the name of the game. So this is 2d6 plus our face's charisma mod. I don't think we have anyone with a positive charisma mod, so it's just 2d6. And it's a 7, so it's neutral or uncertain. And yeah, I mean, that generally means just no encounter. We can go to Tales of Argosa and go to the monster section and actually go to the wolf, because that will have custom reactions, which might be a little bit more useful, but don't generally like to use this bestiary for anything, unless I really need like stats, like if I need their strength or their constitution or something like that, then I might give it a look. But I usually don't consult this bestiary much compared to axe. I think I skipped it already, unless it's just under wolf. No, there's definitely an animal section. Dinosaurs. Aboriginal. Oh, there it is. Wolf. So 7 would be cagey. Yeah, I mean, basically the same thing. And we outnumber them. Wolves are not that stupid, or, you know, unless they're diseased or have some brain tumor or something, or they're really fucking desperate. Wolves are generally not just gonna pounce on you. This isn't fucking D&D 5th edition. So, there is that table of activity die. Yeah. Eating. Okay, so we just see some wolves nearby, like 100 feet away, drinking from a stream or something. And they just kind of look at us very warily, a little cautiously. Maybe they bare some teeth a little bit, but we keep going. And that's it. That's the whole encounter. Nothing more needs to be said. And that's our encounter for the day. So we set up camp. Now, I don't think they do any stuff at night. It's just once per day, unless the referee chooses to make more. I usually like to keep players on their toes at night, though. I like that a watch is set up. I think there usually should be one at night. And okay, Axe recommends resting / stationary at night once every 3 nights in the Borderlands. Okay. Well, I could do it tonight. Or I could wait for them to spend another couple nights out in the wilderness, I suppose. We'll keep it interesting and we'll roll it tonight. So we're gonna roll a d6, 1 to 3. Okay, so nothing. The night passes by. We set up camp. We eat a ration. I wish there was just an easy arrow or something to just reduce that by 1. Again, Shadow Dark. The Shadow Dark module showing its strengths. All right. And the next day we pick it up and keep going. So we're going to roll another d6 for our second day. We have another encounter. It is a 5. 1d6 hobgoblins. 4 of them. Okay. What is the reaction roll? 8. So they are neutral towards us, uncertain. So that's one aspect of it. Most of the time, though, unless I think, you know, the result is pretty obvious, I think it's good to roll distance, and it's good to roll to see who sees who first, you know, if one side sees the other. And one thing that I didn't do, which I really should, is travel rolls. So you always have to have a guide unless you're on a road or there's obvious landmarks or you're following a river. We are on a road, so we don't actually need a guide. We could have someone forage. I just realized it has an asterisk here next to wilderness lore. I wonder if you have to have wilderness lore then. Yes, that is required. So to forage while you're traveling, you have to have wilderness lore. Okay, that's good to know. That is definitely good to know. I don't think that's ever been broken in my family's games. Because usually... Maybe it has, though. Okay. So wilderness lore, I think... Oh, no, Rethi and Nefira has. So we could do some foraging while we're on the move. The default role, if you don't pick anything else, is lookout. You keep watch for monsters, traps, and similar dangers from within the main party. You automatically spot most creatures at very far range, unless there's dense terrain, weather, an ambush, or something. For a trap or ambush, you get to make a perception detection test on behalf of the main group. You can also have someone be a scout, traveling stealthily ahead of the party at very far range. You might be able to ambush any creatures you find, but normally you report any dangers back to the main group. You can also be a rear guard, where you get to travel stealthily behind the main party, at least far range, and if the company encounters something, you might be able to stay hidden. You can also watch for dangers from the rear and possibly conceal the party's tracks. So it's, you know, it's either or, really. I think in this case, I should have declared this, but Dalnir is probably going to be on the lookout. He's not super good at perception, but he's okay. Rethi is going to be foraging, and Nefira is going to be scouting ahead. Yeah. So let's roll. We'll skip the first day. The first day didn't happen. Oh, we also got to figure out weather. Okay, I think that's normal spring weather. So she's going to roll int or perception wilderness lore. So she'll just roll int. She did succeed. She got an 8. So she does not have to spend a ration for this day. So we need to figure out what the hobgoblins are doing, the 4 hobgoblins. So we'll go ahead and roll that activity die, because I like that. 2. They are socializing. Doesn't super make sense, I suppose, what these hobgoblins are doing out here. I guess it's a sort of a bigger question of what the fuck are hobgoblins doing out here up in the mountains? Where do they come from? Are there hobgoblins anywhere else in the module? Okay, no, it doesn't find it, including it doesn't find this, so it just can't search this PDF, I guess. I would assume there's hobgoblins somewhere. You don't just mention that once as a one-off, right? Maybe you do. I don't think there are any other hobgoblins in here. Okay. Well, fuck. This is just like a family of hobgoblins just trying to survive out here. Okay. So they're socializing, so they're rearing their child. So it's just like a couple adult hobgoblins just raising their kid and teaching him how to hunt or something. And Nefira observes this. So she scouts ahead. I guess it doesn't say that you have to roll stealth or something. It just says that you do it. You can ambush them, and you normally report back. GM decides whether any checks are required. In this case, I think they're a little preoccupied, so she can just observe this and report back. I just wanted to look at the monster manual for beastmen, to look at hobgoblins. Yeah, they're very, militant. They are chaotic. These are generally evil creatures. So these are just kind of weird outliers. It's possible even that, like, they were cursed, or so these were, like, humans or something that were cursed to become hobgoblins. I'm ruling this is pretty unusual. That's my take on it. And I think that's always a fun curveball to throw at players. They encounter these, like, seeming like maybe they go up and chat with these hobgoblins. Maybe they find out that they're cursed people and they're like, oh, please don't hurt us. You don't know. Maybe if Nefira stuck around, she'd actually hear them speaking common or something instead of goblin. That's what they speak, right? Goblin? Does it actually not include language in this thing? Or do they all speak like beastmen? Yeah. Okay, so I think, yeah, and then I could see if I did this to my players, I could see one of them being like, can I roll like a lore? Is this something that happens? And it says right here, family relations are brutal. Both sexes lack any capacity whatsoever for compassion, empathy, kindness, or love. And it's like, so no, the very little you might know about beastmen tells you that this is very unusual. So I think that's very interesting. You got like a whole separate little plot side quest there, that there's like these cursed hobgoblins trying to just raise their kids out here in the wilderness, because they have like no home. They're not going to go live with the other fucking hobgoblins. That's awful. But they're also terrified of going to any settlement. That, like, who's gonna really take them in? They're hobgoblins. They're really evil fucks. So it's pretty rough for them, and I guess they're probably just trying to live out here and like build a cabin or something and just keep to themselves because they. So then it raises all the questions of how they got cursed, who cursed them, can the curse be removed? I think it's great, but I also don't really want to do any of that solo, so I'm just glad that, like, I'm glad we could discuss this and just show the power of just like random rolls and random encounters and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, that's OSR gaming right there. Is just like spontaneous, you know, emergent gameplay kind of stuff like that. So there you have it. But so Nefira reports back on that, and they all remark on that being pretty unusual, but they'd rather not get involved. They have this troll issue to deal with, and they're on the march, so they're gonna move on. Leave the hobgoblins be. Okay, maybe if we roll up hobgoblins again, they'll make a reappearance, but we'll see. Okay, so that was our second roll. So now we're doing the forced march thing. So we have to make group con checks with a +2 modifier, and we have to get at least 3 successes, and this does include the mule. Well, I don't think we have to get 3 successes. We have to get 2 checks. 2 successes. Oh, as long as more than half the group succeeds. If half succeed, you might allow a great success or terrible failure to decide. That's usually what I do. I'm fairly lenient when I'm DMing, so that's usually what I do. But let's just roll. So Dalnir, he actually fucking failed. Nefira, she succeeded. Rethi succeeded. Not a great success, though, which means that if the mule fails, we are not going to be able to force march. The mule just refuses, or Dalnir refuses. Somebody's just like, no, we're going to camp out and fuck this. Oh, I wasn't given the +2. Did that change something? Yeah, he would succeed then. All right, yeah, he succeeded. So no matter what the mule gets, I'm giving the mule a 10 constitution. The mule rolled a 1, rolled a crit. So the mule is leading the charge, and we march straight on through, and we arrive at the ranch. So it's a cattle ranch. It employs a number of humans, dwarves, and halflings that are looking for decent pay for honest work. It doesn't really go into much of the details of how the ranch is laid out. It says the buildings are Taggart's home, the ranch hand's lodgings, and a large barn full of hay. So I guess we're just gonna go up to his home, I suppose, and knock on the door. I mean, I assume it's not that late. We marched for like 9 hours from, you know, whatever, 7 a.m. or something, so I don't think it's that late. But we are pretty tired. Except the mule. So Taggart answers. A little wary, I'm sure, of 3 armed individuals pulling up. But we explain that we came from Karn Buldar. We heard that he's got a troll problem, and we're happy to help. So he explains that a troll has been making a mess of things, made a meal out of some cattle and a ranch hand who was out checking fences. The scene the next morning was gruesome, and most of the employees left out of fear that the troll may soon turn on the ranch in search of a tastier dish. Only 2 have stayed, Cavan and Turvis, both of whom are quite worthless, but they're eager to impress Taggart. So this is what they know about the situation. The troll seems to attack the cattle at night. It's fairly common knowledge that fire is the only way to put one down for good. Cavan and Turvis seem to think the thing is keeping to the woods west of here across the river. And he might suggest the players send for more help or recruit some mercenaries before trying to engage with the troll. These monsters are no joke. Okay. So this is a pretty free-form thing. So I think we can just run this scenario. So it is out in the woods, a few miles to the west, beyond the river. So we could go track it in its home, but I usually like to play defense. So I think we're going to wait for it to come back. This is usually where I'd ask the DM the actual layout of the ranch and what it looks like. There's only a few buildings: his home, the ranch hand's lodgings, and a large barn full of hay. Okay, let's pull up paint. Because this is, again, if I would probably draw this on a piece of paper, but for here we'll do this. So okay, let's just say this is his home. This is the ranch hand's lodgings. This is the barn full of hay. And then the cattle are going to be like, let's just say all up in here. All right, it's crude, but I think, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is actually how they would lay out a ranch or not, but this is what, I mean, maybe he has a lot more than that, and maybe they're not penned in, but I don't know. I'm going to assume there's a pen. Oh, no, there's a fence. There's a specific mention of that. A ranch hand who was out checking fences. So maybe it's a lot bigger than that. I guess I could see that being true. I mean, how big is a ranch? This is of some value to the village, right? So they get beef from this ranch. That's why they care that a troll is bothering them. So I might ask ChatGPT on this one. There's probably a reference somewhere in one of these RPG books, probably Axe, about how much farmland, how much cattle and stuff to sustain certain population. Okay, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. It's gonna think, it's gonna crunch all the numbers, access all human knowledge, and it's gonna give me the perfect answer. We're assuming that this ranch is pretty much exclusively for Karn Buldar or whatever. Okay, so ChatGPT says a total herd of about 80 to 100 cattle. I think that's not a crazy number. So let's assume he's got 80 to 100 cattle. So for 80 to 100 cattle, you might need 100 to 200 acres of pasture. That seems like a lot, right? Jesus. How big is a fucking acre? That's a lot, right? It's 1/640th of a square mile. It's the size of a football field without the end zone. That's 1 acre. Damn. You're talking about at least 100 acres? That is a massive area for me to, like... Okay, so I way lowballed this. So this isn't even... This map isn't relevant. So we could just remove... we could remove this whole... No, why did you do that? Why can't I... Oh, there it is. We're going to remove this whole pen, because that's no longer relevant. So these would just be the buildings, and then it's like, oh yeah, and then behind that, there's like 100 acres. Which sounds like just really a lot, especially for, you know, the map we have. But again, these hexes are 6 miles. So honestly, I think this whole area up to the river and everything is all just like part of the ranch. And that's just, you know, there's 100 acres in there. Just 1 acre is 1/640th of a square mile. And I think there's a lot of square miles in these hexes. In fact, I might ask ChatGPT that as well. "31 square miles. Yeah. So, yeah, 100 acres is practically nothing on this map. So, okay, so those are the 3 buildings. It doesn't really matter then for planning purposes. There's just a massive area of like 100 football fields behind this or next to this or whatever. So we know that if the troll comes, it's going to come from the west, but it's still like a very broad area to sort of cover and protect his cattle from an incursion. So that does throw some plans off a little bit. It's going to be hard to kind of prepare for that. I mean, we could probably ask like where the fence hand or where the ranch hand died, because he was out checking fences, so that could be where like the troll made its entry point into the pen, into the fenced area. So we can probably narrow it down a bit. He's not going to come from a wildly different spot, I wouldn't imagine. If we're playing the odds, I think that's our best bet. So I guess we'll ask that and maybe have one of the other ranch hands show us. But then it comes down to how do we lie in ambush? This is just pasture, you know, it's an open grazing field. There's not really much cover to speak of. There's not going to be trees all over the place or anything like that. He picked like an empty field to set up. I don't know how good Troll's night vision is. I wouldn't be shocked if it was pretty solid. I imagine there's trolls in here. How could there not be? This is probably a beefier troll. No, 6+. No, this is the right stats. This is the troll. So we can just use the axe version. 2 attacks at 1d6 plus 1d10. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so it has lightless vision out to 60 feet. So its night vision is pretty darn good. It can regenerate. So on and so forth. So yeah, we can't just like lie down and hope he doesn't notice us. He's probably gonna notice us. I guess we could hide behind some cows, assuming they're in the area. But it said there's like 1 to 2 acres per cow. So they're going to be pretty spread out, I would imagine. Or they're going to congregate together in like one area somewhere in the whole field. So that's probably not much of a plan. So the best bet, I guess, is finding some trees nearby and hoping to just sort of see his approach and coordinate together from a distance. I think that's our best bet. So we might start the encounter theoretically a little far apart. Second thing we need to really sort of figure out is the countering of its regeneration. We do have torches, so we can always do that. We also have military oil and other oil flasks, so I suppose we can just light them on fire with that. Nafira is a pretty good shot, so she can certainly throw the military oil. And just for specific rules on that, equipment description. Oil. Military oil may be thrown at monsters, dealing 1d8 fire damage for 2 rounds to the creature struck, or poured on the floor and ignited to burn for a full turn and delay pursuit. I'm pretty sure you still have to light it on fire before you throw it, so you should probably look at the rules here for throwing. This whole fucking page. Oil flasks can be lit and then thrown as missile attacks. Okay. Yeah, okay. A lot of rules, and we're not actually playing Axe, so a lot of that we can ignore. The most important thing is it's a 1d8 damage. It doesn't seem to imply that you have to spend like an action to light it and then an action to throw it. It seems like just go, but I'm not really sure how that would work. Unless you have like a torch ready to just light it, or a candle ready to light it. Like using flint and steel to light the flask seems like kind of a lot to do in one turn. Maybe you're meant to hand wave that. Tales of Argosa does have its own version of that, which is fire pots. And it just says it's a thrown missile weapon, range far, +2 bonus on the attack roll, which explodes in a melee area, causing 1d10 damage and creating a thick cloud of smoke. Now, that's pretty all good. You'll notice, again, it doesn't talk about lighting it or anything like that. And it gives a bonus to the attack roll. And out to 60 feet range, which is pretty nuts. And it creates a thick cloud of smoke. But fire pots do cost a lot. 5d10 plus 50. So I guess we'll hand wave it. We won't get too anal about it. I don't really like to be too anal about things anyways. So fuck it. You can just throw military oil like a fire pot. You don't get the bonus. It only goes out to close range and it only does 1d8 damage. Well, it does 1d8 damage immediately and then another 1d8 damage the next round, which is actually a little potentially more powerful than this, because this only causes burning on a natural 19. But I don't know, it makes sense. Like if you're covered in burning oil, you're covered in fucking burning oil. I'd have to check the Discord to see any discussions specifically about if people care about lighting it on fire and how you do that or something like that. But I guess we're... Yeah, we're hand waving it. But if you fumble, if you roll a 1, you do light yourself on fire. So that's 1d8 immediately, 1d8 the next round. We'll probably ignore the splash concept. And then scatter and whatever, just whatever. Okay, so then I think we'll open with that, I suppose. As soon as it's within sight and Nefira gets within range, she's gonna toss that military oil. She's got 2 of them, so if we miss with one, we'll go for the second one. But hopefully we can do it from surprise and ambush it so we get advantage. That would be pretty big factor. She is pretty stealthy, so that's sort of the cue. Like, once she lights this motherfucker on fire, then we rush in and just butcher it. So we're gonna post up then. It's probably gonna be a long, unfortunate night. We leave our mule and our cart there, and we just kind of just posted up behind trees, keeping an eye on the towards the west, towards the forest, towards the river. And we'll probably have just like a little like bird call whistle or something if anyone spots the troll coming. So, all right. It's not interesting if the troll doesn't come, so just leave that possibility out of your mind. The troll is coming. It's really lame to have your group go through all the discussion and everything, and they're just like, yeah, the troll never shows up. Like, fuck that. We're all interested in seeing the troll come, so let's just not beat around the bush. So the troll comes. We're being watchful, so I don't think there's any doubt on spotting it. There could be a roll here on if we actually hide adequately, but I don't think so. We're behind trees. I guess maybe. It's possible. It is very quiet. I guess you could. But I'd be inclined to give everyone advantage. And at that point, it's almost like, why bother? Just like, okay, we hide from it. That's not really... Yeah, I don't think I would have you roll. Because Nefira is going to have to roll almost certainly to sneak up on it as it approaches the fence. So what we really have to decide and what I have to adjudicate is how far apart we are. Where the troll is, how far apart these trees are, various distances. And that's a lot harder for me to, like, be fair about and actually come up with numbers. I don't know the best way to do this. I'm assuming, and I'm picturing these trees being pretty sparse and kind of far apart. Like, there's not a cluster of trees or anything, so we're all split up. So let's say the trees are all 1d20 plus 15 feet apart. Or is that not enough? No, I think that's enough. So Rethi's tree is 31 feet away from Nefira's tree, and Nefira's tree is 29 feet away from Dalnir's tree. So pretty much around 30 feet each, which is close range. So it's the edge of close range. So they could all move to each other's trees in one go. So they're not that far spread out, which is fine. I guess I could have made that a lot more drastic, but that is, 30 feet is quite a bit. Okay, and then let's further say that the troll approaches about 30-some feet from Nefira's tree. Let's say 35 feet from Nefira's tree. And Nefira happens to be the closest. So the others, they wouldn't be able to get to the troll in one turn. Let's be a little harsh on myself with that, okay? Well, they could get to it in one turn, but they can't move and attack in one turn unless they charge, which Rethi is probably going to charge. Okay, so now it's Nefira's stealth roll to see if she can sneak up onto the troll as it's approaching the fence. And, you know, it's grunting and, you know, it's sort of chattering its teeth and doing this weird shit. It's pretty terrifying. This is not going to be pleasant. It might be pleasant, though, if we can really alpha strike this thing down. But she's gotta get it started. So luckily she has advantage on stealth. So she's gonna roll this. She got a great success. We probably should roll it against its perception though. And that's where we might go to Tales of Argosa's monster section. Just to glance at a troll and see what its perception might be. Just because I'm curious, you know. 7. Okay, they are not very observant. That's going to be... He literally can't succeed, unless he rolls a 1. Okay, he didn't. He did succeed, but not nearly by enough. So, okay, Nefira sneaks up. She gets to within, like, 25 feet or something, and she's going to throw the oil flask. We're going to use that. So she's just going to roll a perception. This is a perception attack roll. So this is a d20 plus 2 with advantage because she is it's an unaware target. And it has an AC of 15, just fairly high. So honestly, the odds are slightly against. I think the odds are slightly in my favor, but not by much. So this very well could miss. And then if we miss, we lose that advantage. And it's definitely within... It's definitely, you know... Then we could fail initiative and so on. Who knows? So let's not fuck up. So basically we need to roll twice and get a 13 or higher. Alright, we already got it. We got 17. So it collides. So it's going to do 1d8 damage, fire damage. 4. Okay. It has 30 hit points total. So now it's dropped down to 26. And it says trolls regained 3 hit points at the start of their initiative each round. Trolls cannot regenerate acidic or fire damage, and if reduced to 0 HP by such, are slain. When confronted by creatures equipped with fire or acid, trolls' morale drops to 0. Oh, shit. Well, that changes things. Because that means, when it makes a morale check, it's going to automatically fail and flee. I guess you could argue that it would immediately make a morale check, and I wouldn't be shocked if a DM did that. Because I think they're very much meant to be pyrophobic. So I wouldn't be shocked if you immediately rolled. It wasn't the best opener, perhaps, because you have to kill them with fire. So basically, we have to do like 20 some more damage before its initiative. So then it takes another d8 from fire and dies. But I'm certainly willing, if it goes down to 0, I'm certainly willing to just smash this other oil flask into its face and kill it. So let's now roll initiative. We'll have Nefira roll, of course. Terrible failure. Now, I don't think we can use rerolls on that, unfortunately. So that means that it is going to go first. I'm debating about whether to do a morale check on it. It's going to take another D8 damage. 1. Okay, so it's down to 25. I think it might. I think it might. I think, yeah, that this is not what it wanted or expected or wants anything to do with. So I think it rolls morale, it fails, and he's going to immediately start running away, which is problematic for us because I imagine he's pretty fast. Well, he's got a 40-foot land speed, so theoretically we should be a decent bit faster. Our normal speed, I love that it just, I'm sure it says somewhere. Why is this so... Oh no, our normal speed is 40. Oh no, so your lightest fastest speed is 40. If you're a bit encumbered up to 10 stone, like 7 to 10 stone, you're 20 speed per round. So he is actually pretty fast. And he's gonna hoof it, running back towards his woods. So now I guess we could try to chase it down, or we wait for it to... I think we chase it down, to be honest. I think we try to chase it down and butcher it. It's on the run, so we might be able to get... Well, no, we'll never... We're not that fast. We've already ruled that I don't have 120 feet exploration speed. Like a 24 mile per speed. We went down to 12. So I'm ruling that I have 20 feet per round. But I guess if we go by Tales of Argosa combat rules... we're basically the same speed, unless it has a special trait of like double near move, or double move or something like that. Most monsters move the exact same speed as you, so I guess it depends on how you want to rule this. The problem is I don't have speed. I don't actually have a 20 foot per round speed in Tales of Argosa with these characters, so we're not actually following those axe rules. I was just using that for exploration, so I think we have to abide by Tales of Argosa for most combat rules. Yeah, monsters move at normal speed unless noted otherwise, so I don't think he moves actually that much faster than us at all. So that means that we could go to the chase rules, which we looked at before. And that's mostly based on like con checks to see if you catch up to someone. Yeah, I mean, you could do it this way, I suppose. Because otherwise, it's like, if all parties are moving at the same speed, how does anything ever happen? And there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of takes on chases and how to adjudicate something like that. And I agree that it could be tricky, because he's going to spend both of his actions, his action and his move every turn to just run. So that means that there isn't really an opportunity to move and like shoot your bow or something like that. We're moving the exact same speed. So there has to be something that makes a difference to sort of close this gap one way or the other. And I do think probably con athletics checks is a decent way to do it. It does say both sides choose one character to lead them. No character may lead a second leg until all allies have led a first leg, and so on. And then the two leaders make opposed con athletics check. Winning side widens or closes the gap by 1 length or 2 lengths on a great success. So if we go back and look at the troll and his con, I imagine it's pretty high. $17. Yeah. So it's pretty rough. I mean, he's probably going to outrun us. And he's certainly motivated to do so. So let's go ahead and we'll put Dalnir as our leader for the first leg. Again, I don't know why clicking on the skill and rolling the skill doesn't add the 1. But it should. So he technically succeeded by 2. And then for the troll, he succeeded by 10. Which I think is a great success. Right? Half. 17. Great success is 8. Yes, he got a great success. So he actually widens it by 2, which is not good for us. Rethi would be next. Also with Athletics Con. Succeeded by 2 again. And the troll succeed. Great success. Yeah, he's out of there. Okay, so that plan didn't work. Okay, that plan didn't work at all. We scared him off, but I can't really imagine he's going to give up based on that unless he's really pyrophobic. And either way, I don't think Taggart's going to be too happy. It does say for killing or driving off the troll. Promises 2,000 gold on completion. How do you prove we've driven him off, though, and he's not going to come back? I don't think there's a good way to do that. And if I were him, I wouldn't pay out based on that. So I think a kill is kind of necessary here. Well, if we assume it's nocturnal and it is hunting at night, then it might sleep during the day. So I think we'll go back, see if we can get some rooms, because he says all his ranch hands left, or most of them left. So hopefully there's some free rooms that we can get from him, and we'll eat a ration, chill for the night, and hunt down the troll during the day. So let's eat a ration. We won't ask this guy for food or anything. Definitely should have bought more rations to put on the cart, though. Right. So the day goes by. And the next day, we're going to now hunt this thing down in the woods. It's about 3.5 miles due west. So that's going to take a couple hours or so. It does say tracking the creature should not prove difficult. There are tracks that lead directly to where it lurks during the day. So you could still have a wilderness lore roll, I suppose. But I think it's largely unnecessary and doesn't really accomplish much if he fails. So, like wilderness lore with advantage, it's like, what's the point? We saw him flee. So we sort of have a vague direction to look anyways, and we can easily find his tracks. So we're going to... So it's a solitary troll, apparently. I guess that's not necessarily the case, but it sounds to lead directly to where it lurks during the day. So I'm pretty sure it's a solitary troll, which I think is unusual, but fine. I guess I should look at the axe one. Tend to lair in dungeons, caverns, ruins, and swamps. Alright. So he lives in a cave. I think that's fine. Now it says here, trolls cannot regenerate acidic or fire damage, and if reduced to 0 HP by such are slain. So they can't regenerate fire damage, but I imagine they still heal. But if we go by, well, most old school rules, I guess, he would have really only healed like 1 overnight. So we're going to put his hit points at 26. He's in a cave. We find the cave pretty easily. So it's a matter of if he's sleeping or not. I think it's likely. And like I said, he seems to be nocturnal. They have lightless vision. So we're going to say it's likely. I'm going to roll a d20 with advantage. Is he sleeping? Okay, he is. All right, so we're going to have Nefira go in first because she's our best sort of scout. We want to confirm that he's sleeping. We might suspect it, but we want to know for sure. So she's going to go in first with... Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't... Okay, great 6. He rolled a 2. There's no chance he could ever perceive that unless he rolled a 1. And he's sleeping, so I think usually I have that perception with disadvantage. Yeah, he rolled terribly. Whatever. Okay, so she sees him laying on the ground on like some filthy hide, and there's bones strewn all over the place. It's nasty stuff. But he certainly seems to be sleeping, so she's gonna sneak back out. Now she could easily get like an alpha strike with her backstab or something. She could shoot him in the back of the head from close range with advantage and everything, use backstab to get an additional 1d8 damage. Does Tales of Argosa have rules for like coup de grace? Does Axe have rules for that? That's a good question. Well. Oh, helpless. Completely unable to defend themselves and may be killed with a single melee action or perhaps ranged action GM's call. Typical examples include sleeping, unconscious, or trussed up head to toe with rope. Damn. Just, you're fucking dead. I mean, that's how it should be. But a troll is sort of a special circumstance. It says here, though, a troll can actually reattach a severed member, including its head, simply by holding it to the stump. So even if we snuck up and chopped off its head, it still could just get up, slap it back on, and rip my guts out. That's pretty nasty. Okay, so... So here's helpless and axe. Melee attack throws against helpless creatures automatically hit if attackers of the same size or larger. If the attacker is also not engaged and his attack is capable of damaging the helpless creature, then the helpless creature can be automatically slain without attack or damage rolls by using a coup de grace. So there, in this case, if you go up to a sleeping person and swing your sword, they're dead. Now, trolls cannot die from just a sword swing, no matter how we want to run it. Even if I have Dalnir use his Bane thing to give him a magic weapon or something, it doesn't matter. It has to be fire or acid. We could coordinate, though. And we could have one of them coup de grace, and then Nefira throws or just slaps down the other oil flask, and we immediately burn it to death, and it's dead. That's probably what we should do. Which means that we're going to have one of these two jabronis sneak up on this thing. I'm going to start by having Dalnir cast Bane Rune on his weapon. Just in case this doesn't work out, he fails his stealth, whatever. It just makes the most sense. So, yeah, he's going to start with Bane Rune. He got a great success, which means... great success per my own house rules. I allow you to increase one numerical aspect of the spell by 50%. So if you look at the description for Bane Rune, any number that's represented here can be increased by 50%. So that means that you could affect 30 arrows, 3 tiny melee weapons, or technically 1.5 small, medium, or large melee weapons. Those are kind of fringe cases. I guess technically I would abide by that and it would be 1.5 small, medium, or large melee weapons. But I also might be lenient and say it goes to 2. Because most likely what you're going to be doing is increasing the magic weapon buff from 2 to 3. Let's be honest. So, and in this case, that's exactly what we're going to do. So he's going to have +3. Oh, I also have to... Yeah, I have to do that. Okay. So he's got a +3 Ifrit Scimitar right now, which is pretty phenomenal. That's +3 to attack and damage. Very nice. And obviously we picked trolls for the creature type. Okay. So Nefira is going to sneak back in. She shouldn't have really any problem. Yeah, no problem. So she is up close. She's got the oil flask ready, her second one, her last one. Rethi is sort of outside the cave on standby in case, like, things don't go well. And now Dalnir is going to try to sneak in. Now, he does get -2 penalty to stealth and swimming unless he removes his chainmail. And I think there is an argument to actually for him to take it off. Alright, he's going to take it off. He's going to drop down to 10 AC. This could be the death of him, but so could failing the stealth check. So, here we go. It's just Dex 12. He succeeded. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So, I think we just kind of win, right? I think we just kind of win. Cheesy as it might be. He sneaks up on it. I mean, technically I could roll his perception. Remember, he has a 7 perception and he's sleeping, so he gets disadvantage. Alright, one of his rolls was a critical fail. So, yeah. Had he just rolled the 3, though, he would have actually succeeded and beat out Dalnir's stealth. But, yeah, he rolled a crit fail. So, Dalnir sneaks up, raises the magical scimitar high above his head, and just slams it down into the troll's chest, instantly dropping it to 0 hit points. I mean, we can roll damage, because it would be pretty phenomenal. It would be 3 more attack and 3 more damage. And he would have advantage. So he rolled a 24 for 14 damage. Wouldn't be enough to actually kill this thing, but hot damn. And then as he does so, Nefira is going to throw the oil flask, which again, she has advantage on. I guess technically you could say it is helpless. So I suppose she could just run up and smash down the oil flask onto its body. I would probably allow that if that's what a player said. Because it's technically unconscious. And this was like a simultaneous thing they're doing. So it's technically helpless. But we'll roll with advantage on a perception attack. So I need a 13 or higher. Okay, I got it twice. So there goes the other flask. And it burns to death. And we have killed the troll. Congrats to myself. It doesn't mention any loot that the troll has or anything. It's just a wild beast that eats stuff, so there's nothing really here. So Dalnir's going to chop off its head. It's a very dead head that's not going to regenerate, I assure you. And we're going to head back. Yeah, pretty simple. And so we return to Taggart. So it's another like couple hours of walking. So it's like lunchtime now. Hopefully he offers us lunch. But we give him the head of the troll, and he does give us 2,000 gold pieces. He is a man of his word. So that's immediately going to go to XP. 2,000 divided by 3 is an unfortunate number. I guess it's like 666. Okay, so one person gets 666. I guess that's going to be Rethi. She didn't really do anything. The others are going to get 667. All right, so we are sort of a third of the way to level 2 for everybody. Not bad for a few days' work. That was relatively easy. We did have to use up our oil flasks, so we'll want to maybe try to buy more of those back in town. But before we leave, as we're eating lunch with Taggart, he mentioned something else. That some time ago, he lost an important heirloom while out fishing on the lake. A locket that belonged to his late wife, Brewhild. He wore it every day since their uniting ceremony. That is, until it was stolen right off his neck by one of the Nixie creatures of the lake. He's certain that the locket is somewhere in the shrine ruins that are located on the island on Lake Amethyst. Okay, so it says he won't necessarily want to reveal this personal bit of information about himself. He's often guarded with his emotions, but this is a large part behind his grumpy demeanor. If the players appear competent and can gain his trust, Taggart may let his guard down a bit and opt to tell them of this lost locket so as to hire them for its retrieval. I think we've earned his trust. I think he does find that we're competent. We handle that troll pretty well, and I think he thinks that we probably can get this back. So he's gonna tell us about it. The locket was stolen by a group of Nixie that inhabit the lake and dropped in the fountain within the shrine in room 4. The Nixie are not hostile most of the time, but like to play tricks. Taggart has put the boat in the barn. He won't immediately tell the players that use of the boat is an option. Okay, great. But he offers us another 3,000 gold pieces worth of amethyst gems. Jesus. Why is this guy so fucking wealthy? Business must be real damn good. I guess if he's like the sole supplier of meat to a village of dwarves, they probably pay a pretty penny. Do we have stats for cattle and how much they're worth? 10 gold for a full fucking cow. Jeez, that's not much. How's he getting all this money? I think there's some shenanigans going on here. There's more to this guy than he's letting on. and he specifically has amethyst, and he's next to Amethyst Lake, he must have came into some... This place must have had something going on. Yeah, I don't know. He's got a lot of money and a lot of gems. I'm not sure. He'd have to sell 200 cows to get 2,000 gold pieces. Well, I suppose... Yeah, that price is the average price. If he's the sole supplier, he could probably charge a lot more than that to the dwarves. And the dwarves would probably be willing to pay it. I don't know if it talks about how... Oh yeah, they used to have a whole mine. Right. It talked about that in the faction stuff. Yeah, gem mining. So they probably had a lot of money and were probably more than happy to pay large amounts for beef and stuff. So I suppose he probably got a lot more money than 10 gold pieces for all the beef he sells them. Significant upcharges. Assuming he also does all the butchering and everything and just delivers steaks and shit. Yeah, he's probably charging him a pretty penny. All right. And they probably paid him in amethyst gems for a while and things like that. All right. I'll probably accept that. Okay. Well, that's what we're going to be doing next time, which is an actual dungeon. So we'll have to figure that all out, but it looks like a decent amount of treasure in there, and an extra 3,000 if we can get that locket and bring it back. But it could also be the death of us. But so far, I'm relatively pleased. I imagine, though, we're gonna get into some combat next time. Some real combat. For now, though, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging. I'll see you fine folks next time.